Let's do some quick example problems for how to use our SOHCAHTOA if you need them. Let's go ahead and do number 1. Let's see, the first thing is you want to identify where your angle is. So in this one, here's my 32. From there, you're going to identify what's your opposite, adjacent, and hypotenuse. Here's my opposite, here's my adjacent, which I don't care about in this problem, and here's my hypotenuse. I'm using opposite and hypotenuse, so that is sine. So I'm going to be using sine of my angle, which in this case is 32 degrees, and that's going to equal my opposite, which in this case is an unknown number x, divided by hypotenuse, which is 4. So first thing is just set up your equation. Now we're going to go ahead and solve for x. Remember, a lot of kids just kind of get freaked out by sine of 32. Remember, sine of 32 is just a funky ratio. That's it. But you're going to keep this in your calculator until the very end. I'm going to multiply both sides by 4 to get rid of 4. So basically, I am getting x is 4 times the sine of 32 degrees. Now that you have x solved for it, now you're just going to type this entire thing into your calculator. 4 times the sine of 32 degrees, and that equals 2 and in this one, I think it's round to the nearest tenth, so this would be 2.1. So x is 2.1. Yay! Okay, so set up your equation and then go ahead and solve for it, and don't plug in your sine or whatever it is until the very end. Let's go ahead and do number 8. Number 8, let's see, here's my angle, my 76 degrees. Let's see, so from this angle, this would be my opposite, which I don't care about. This is my adjacent, which I do care about, and this is my hypotenuse. So adjacent and hypotenuse, I am looking at cosine. So cosine, here we go. Number 8, so cosine of my angle is 76 is my adjacent, in this case, which is x, over my hypotenuse, which is 70. So again, cosine of 76, just a funky number. We're going to go ahead and solve for x. I'm going to multiply both sides by 70. And I am going to get x is 70 times the cosine of 76 degrees. Now that I've solved for x, I'm going to type everything in my calculator. 70 times cosine of 76 degrees. And I get 16.9, rounding to the nearest tenth. Huzzah. There we go. Let's do one more, which is not on this page, but these ones all, like, our variable was in the numerator. Let's just do one where our variable is in the denominator, because sometimes that one freaks people out. You guys will be fine though. Here's one from the maze, which is a couple pages further. Let's see, I have 19 degrees here. Here's my angle. That means this is opposite. Here's adjacent, which I don't care about, and here's my hypotenuse. So opposite and hypotenuse is sine. So sine of 19 degrees is going to be opposite 12 over hypotenuse, which is my number. Here's where I have my number in my denominator. What do we do? Okay, well, let's get the number out of the denominator. You could also think about cross multiplying. So cross multiply, you get x times sine of 19, which is just a funky number, equals 12. Awesome. Now we divide by sine of 19. And we get x equals 12 divided by the sine of 19 degrees. And now we're going to plop in our calculator. 12 divided by, and some calculators are just a little bit different than others. You kind of have to play around with it. And we get 36.9 or so. There we go. And does that make sense? Well, 19 is the smallest angle. Okay, so this is obviously the biggest angle. So the biggest angle is opposite the biggest side. So this should be way bigger than this side, and it is. So that's great. Let's do a quick problem where x, or our unknown, is in your, is actually your angle. So this is the next page. Let's see, I have a triangle here. We know that this is gonna be a 3, 4, 5 just because it's our Pythagorean triple. But if you didn't know that, that's fine. I need to figure out what this angle is right here. My unknown is my angle. Well, I still have, if this is my angle, I still have opposite and I still have hypotenuse. Here's my adjacent, which I don't care about. Opposite and hypotenuse is sine. So let's see. Here's n. I'm still looking at sine, so I have sine of some unknown number, which we usually write as theta. You can write it as anything, but that's what we'll usually write it as, is opposite over hypotenuse. And, oh, what do we do here? Here is where we use that handy dandy little inverse button on our calculator. And if you can see on your calculator, oftentimes it's gonna look like, it's gonna have that little -1 by it. So my little -1 is on top of my sine. I'm gonna use my second key. So I'm going to type in the inverse of sine, and then I'm gonna type in what is my value, 3/5. And that's going to give me my angle, 36.869, blah, blah, blah. So my angle is 36.9 degrees. So when you do not know your angle is your variable, you're using that inverse button of, if it's sine, you use inverse sine, cosine, inverse cosine, tangent, inverse tangent, blah, blah, blah. You get that, okay? Let's go ahead and do P just in case. Let's see, I have a value right here. Here's my unknown, and I have adjacent, and I have opposite. I don't know hypotenuse. Opposite and adjacent is tangent. So tangent of my unknown value, theta, is opposite over adjacent. So here's where I'm going to use my inverse tangent. And I could do 50 over 20, or I could simplify and do 5 over 2. Doesn't really matter. And I'm going to get theta is 68.2 degrees. There you go. So there are the basic 3 types of problems that you're going to get for SOHCAHTOA. Have fun. And be thankful for your calculator.